one of the guys in the crowd when I was playing the Bob Hope show was a young captain, Marine, and Rick Sturco. And Rick got out of the Marines after the war, and he went to work for NASA, and he became a mission commander on one of the space shuttles, and they were allowed 2 pieces of music in space. He took an Aaron Tippin album to space. Nice. And I got a picture. In the house, and the CD's floating in space in front of him, and he's in the space shuttle, and you can see the Earth through the windshield.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, man.
There's some
I couldn't have bought that.
Welcome to Own the Jet by Aspen Aero Group, where we share perspectives from some of the leading voices in private jet ownership and business aviation. I'm your host, Derek Savage, along with my co-host, Jason Spoor, president of Aspen Aero Group. Our guest today is American country music star, Aaron Tippin. Aaron is a lifelong aviator that also operates Tennessee Flying Machines, a flight school and restoration shop that offers scenic rides in vintage aircraft. Join us as we dive deep into the mechanics, mindset, and moments that define jet ownership. And together, we'll learn what it takes to own the jet.
Welcome to another episode of Own the Jet. We're down in Tennessee with Mr. Aaron Tippin, country music extraordinaire and pilot and everything else.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
We're down to kind of talk about your career, your life, and airplanes, of course, and how that's been a part of your life.
Well, a lot like you, buddy. You know, I grew up at the airport. Yeah. My dad was a professional pilot. When I was born, he was training Air Force cadets in Bainbridge, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I came along, and later on, he got out of military service, and he went to corporate aviation. So my very first airplane ride was a DC-3.
That's it.
He was captain on DC-3, awesome. And so that got me started. When I got up into that cockpit, he put enough logbooks and under my butt to get me where I could see over the instrument panel. And man, when I looked out that window and I saw cars on the ground that looked like my little Matchbox toys, I went,
this is pretty cool.
This is it.
Yeah, I had a little booster seat is what I had, just a little booster seat. So
well, that's the same.
But yeah,
and I still have to have one.
So roughly your teenage years is when you did all that and started building a career.
Soloed on my 16th birthday. And by the time I was 18, I was multi-engine commercial instrument rated. I'm also a helicopter pilot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And A&P, and also a flight instructor.
Right,
so,
right.
So
there's not many more ratings and certificates you can get.
Well, I don't have seaplane, and I gotta get that.
Okay. Yeah. So at that point in your life, you were kind of on the trajectory of being a pilot, a corporate pilot, airline pilot.
Well, I was a corporate pilot for a while. With my hopes and dreams of becoming an airline captain. You know, that was my deal, and wanted to fly airlines during the week and fly air shows on the weekend, because when I was growing up, we had acro airplanes, so I learned aerobatics at a young age, and I thought that'd be the perfect life. But, you know, along came the energy crunch of the late 70s. And I just, you know, I decided that if I wasn't going to make the airline thing, I was just going to go find something else to do. So I quit flying. I thought, hey, I've flown enough. You know, I'm over this. This won't matter to me 10 years down the road. Boy, was I wrong. But, you know, God had another plan for me, you know, and that's along came the music business. I was already playing in a bluegrass band, picking a little banjo. And I went back to all my guys in the band. I said, hey, look, I've quit flying. I'm going to take a real job. And we can go play some of the clubs. And they said, nobody's going to pay us to play bluegrass. So we learned country music, which I was a big fan of, and we started playing the clubs. And I thought that's how my life would play out, was running a bulldozer for one of my buddies and a dump truck and playing honky tonks on the weekend.
So you were working during the week, during the day, and then you'd go.
Then on Friday, Saturday,
pack up the van and
take off and go to the bar and pick and grin. And you know, I was married at the time and had one child, and boy, I was once I got in that honky-tonk attitude, I forgot to turn it off a couple of times.
Yeah.
And consequently, I ended up divorced, and I had no excuse not to go to Nashville. And so I packed my 1975 Toyota Corolla station wagon, which
I didn't know Corollas had station wagons.
Oh, yes, sir. And buddy, they will haul some picking gear, I'm telling you. They will.
Not that we're advertising Toyota.
I left Greenville, South Carolina, and drove to Nashville.
Yeah.
And just started writing songs. Took a job in an aluminum rolling mill in Russellville, Kentucky, which is about 60 miles north of Nashville. And stayed there for a couple of years till I got a full-time job of songwriting.
So when you went to Nashville, so you were like, what did that look like? Was that Broadway type stuff you're playing?
We're Music Row. This is Music Row. And, you know, I got to be honest, I never played one single time before I got my record deal to RCA. I was into bodybuilding back then, and so I would get up every morning. On my way to Nashville, I'd stop and go to the gym. Then I'd go write for, 3/4 of the day, go back to the gym, then go home and eat and go to bed and get up. And that's all I did was write songs. And so, that one day we were pitching songs to RCA for maybe it was Clint Black.
Oh, okay.
And the lady, the A&R lady, said, "Who is that singing?" And I said, "It's that muscle guy down there at A-Cuff Rose, that little short one, And I've seen him." And she said, "Well, I'd like to have lunch with him." And so that's how it started. And she took one of my demos to Joe Galani, who was the president of RCA, and he thought it was a pretty unique sound. I don't know what that meant, but
right. Oh,
well, that was good or bad.
Everybody else does. Yeah.
But he thought it was a unique sound. So he gave me a record deal, and that's where it all started. And
so, what was the first song that I guess went big, or you're like, is that really on the radio right now? I mean, what's that feel like?
The first one, that cool story about that. At that time, I was building a catalog for the first album, and every time I'd write a new song, I'd go to Joe Galani's office at RCA, and I'd play it for him personally, And so one time I was back home visiting my daughter on my weekend to have her, and Buddy Brock, good friend of mine and a great songwriter, recently passed away. He said, we were sitting down writing, and we were trying to figure out stuff to write, and so we got to talking about our dads anyway, and what they instilled in us, and we all said they both had this one saying: "You got to stand for something, you'll fall for anything." And so we wrote that song, and the next Monday I went to Joe's office, and I said, I called him. I said, "Mr. Galani, can I come over? I got a song I want to play for you."
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, come on over here." So I went over there, and back in those days, I didn't have a briefcase. I had a beer box that I carried all my stuff in, my lunch and my.
What beer brand?
Well, I think it was a Miller Lite.
Okay.
I got it out of the trash. But anyway, I went to his office, and I was so excited because I thought this song was really a great song. And I just threw my beer box on his desk and just kind of shoved all this stuff up against him, And he said, "Wait a minute, hold it." And I went, "I ain't even got my first record out, and I'm about to be fired." And he said, "Just stay right there." And he got up and he went to the closet, and he came back, and he brought one of these beautiful satchels that had the RCA dog on it and said RCA Records. And he walked over there and he handed it to me. He said, "Here, Aaron, put all your stuff in this, and don't ever bring that damn beer box back in my office again." So
that made you who you are, right?
It did. And later on, actually, I think at the house, I've still got the beer box in the closet.
Wow.
Thea's good about keeping all my
stuff,
my old writing junk.
That's
so anyway.
And then from there, it was.
Well, it was the opportunity. I mean, that's the first hit is your chance to get out there and you've just been handed the ball. It's time to run.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I was with Majors for 16 years. And man, I never raised my head one time. I just kept going as hard as I could go.
Yeah.
And it led to a great career that I'm still out there enjoying 36 years later. But I made so many fan friends, man. I mean, people that are, they're just music lovers like me, you know, and they love the Aaron Tippin music. I get to go play for them somewhere across America every week.
And you're touring now, right?
Oh, we sure are. We just got back from Indiana 2 days ago. We'll leave out for Nebraska Thursday.
Good. So with that, songs or a particular song right now that's kind of leading the way?
Well, one we're real proud of, you know, golly, there's a great story. Tom, our youngest son, wrote this song for another project he was working on, and it didn't quite pan out. But and when he wrote it, he played it for Thea and I, and I said, Tom, this song's a smash, dude. You need to cut this song. He said, well, Aaron, Dad, he said, I don't want to get tied up in, you know, this style of music, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, okay, fine, that's fine. You know, he didn't like to take advice from Dad. He takes good advice from Mom, but not from Dad. Anyway, he that song laid in catalog for about 3 years, and grace of God, I got inducted into the Living Legends of Aviation.
Right. Yeah.
And which I'm very proud of. There's all kinds of really great aviators in there, and some entertainers like me, and some actors and stuff. And so I was real pleased and happy to be a part of that. But when we were getting ready to go out there, we were trying to figure out what we're going to play, because they always want us to play something, you know, play a song or two.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'd done the hits out there a couple of times, and I was standing there in the bathroom and looking in the mirror, and Thea was in there getting ready, and I said, honey, you know, when we go out to the awards, I said, what do you think about? She said, you better not say American Sky.
Yeah.
And so
That's
we immediately went and called our producer and the head of our new record label, 8-Track Entertainment. And we said, Noah, got a song I want you to listen to. Tell me what you think. You know, and these guys are critical. I mean, they hear songs all the time. He said, okay, send it. So I sent it over. And it was about 4 minutes later, he texted back, said, that's an anthem, let's cut it.
It's done.
And so it was the first single off this new album.
Good deal. So with record labels, labels, who are you with now?
This is 8-Track Entertainment. That's who we're with now. And I went from RCA to Lyric Street, and then we did an independent thing with Nippet Records, which is our label. Tippin spelled backwards. Anyway, but then, you know, and I got to be honest, I kind of was thinking, well, you know what, I'm just going to ride this touring career out till I look out there and nobody shows up. And then we'll go home.
What's the minimum? Like 10?
Yeah,
if there's 10 people,
if I get down to 10, I'll go home.
Okay.
But anyway, I just thought, you know, because my dream is to spend my elderly days rebuilding airplanes. That's what I want to do, you know. And so I thought, well, that's about to happen, you know. It's going to come. But we got an offer from a bunch of folks that just really, really inspired me. And Noah Gordon, who's the president of the label and also producing our records, he came out in the 90s the same as me. But, you know, he rolled down the highway. He took a left turn and went downtown and learned the music business. I took the one right and went out on the highway for 30 some odd years. But he's such a blessing because he's so great. He's a world-renowned producer and a songwriter, and man, this record thing is second nature to him. So it's so cool to be with people so inspired, genuinely inspired about the music. And nowadays it's better than ever because we have the route directly to the fans a lot. This new media, which, you know, I'm still learning. I have to call Tom, my youngest, and say, hey man, what does this mean?
Well, I'm in the same boat as you. I
don't know. In the 90s, this ain't how we did.
That's exactly right. We didn't have a cell phone, you know, early 90s, right? So. But Living Legends, I'll go back to that real quick. You know, that's a good organization, great organization. Like you said, lots of lots of great people are in that group and pretty distinguished.
Absolutely,
Right,
man. I just humble as I can be when I'm in that room with all aviation greats
Yep.
that are still with us. You know, and it just, I'm thrilled to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's awesome.
I got the Patriots Award from those guys a few years before for my support of our troops, and every time I've gotten the chance, I go down range and entertain our guys and gals on the battlefield.
I think that's one of the most impressive things that I see with you and that's a passion that I have as well. You know, I was never in the armed forces, but
same here. I'm strictly a pilgrim, but my dad was the greatest patriot I ever knew.
Yeah.
And Buddy, he always took his hat off to the military, and he expected his children to do the same. And so it stuck with me. And when you listen to You Got to Stand for Something and Stars and Stripes, and you can tell me it stuck.
Yeah. No, I love it. So music, 30-some years. So during that 30 years of being on the road, of course, not a lot of time, but how or during that time were you still involved with airplanes, or did you make?
Music has been very good to me. I love the creativity of it, and how much fun I've had and how many great people I've met in my life thanks to music. But my absolute passion
Is these things.
is these things.
Yeah.
And you know, and flight instruction is my absolute passion. I mean, I really
I could probably
love
do a lesson or two.
well, I need a lesson. Well, that's the thing about aviation. You never stop learning.
That's the truth.
Somewhere during the flight, you're going to go,
That was a mistake.
never thought that before.
Yep, exactly. So talking more about warbirds, I'll bring up Roger Woolsey.
Oh, man,
good
Raj.
friend of the show, good friend.
Yeah,
And
great
love him to
guy.
death.
Man, look at him, you know, Millionaire Aviation.
Yep.
That guy, and he's into warbirds now. You know,
Right.
another buddy of ours,
Yeah.
Doug Rosenthal, which I'm wearing a Doug shirt, as a matter of fact. That's
you go.
all brother. He flew the C-47 over on, I think, the 75th anniversary, and he got to fly across the beach.
Oh, wow.
Same way it did
Yeah.
at Normandy.
That's
So
impressive.
That was so impressive. And Rosie is one of the most renowned warbird guys in America. You can ask anybody, they know who that cat is.
Yeah.
And Roger, you know, he's like me. We're just big fans of Rosie. And so Rosie's given me the opportunity to do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Rosie, you hungry?
I think Roger, in my opinion, is living his best life this summer.
He is.
Cruising around.
And I just loaned him my T6 so that he can get his T6 times because he's
Right.
buying a P51.
Yeah.
He's
on his way.
That guy, he goes all the way. You're right. He goes all the way. That's the way he is. And shoot, man, I look forward to seeing what else he's going to do. I think once the warbird community, and he's already getting pretty well known, but when he gets really well known, they're going to see what his expertise are worth. I mean, that cat will come up with stuff that will really be great for the warbird world.
Yeah, I think that's totally impressive.
I agree.
You know, so my background's all corporate aviation, and never really got into this at all. But I think it'd be.
Well, now, what all have you flown?
Yeah, Gulfstreams, Bombardiers, and Falcon jets, and moving people like you around the nation, around the world.
I think you
Right?
told me earlier that John Cougar Metcalf was your first boss.
Started there, yep. Started there.
That's pretty
Doing
cool,
a lot
buddy.
Of stuff with him. Yeah.
Man, that guy had some big old hit
He did.
records, man.
He did.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was
so-
impressed with that.
Yeah.
But impressed with your jet qualifications too. I think, but you told me last night you got steerman time.
I do. Yep. Back when I was your age, I had the chance, and we had one, and it was the first ground loop of my life. It just kind of took me for a ride.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good one, because let me tell you something. You can ask anybody that flies these babies.
Yeah.
And I'm typed in a P40 and typed in a DC3, or excuse me, C47. I mean, Anyway, but I can tell you right now, I've flown Twin Beaches, but the one that will get you faster than anything is that little yellow airplane right there, buddy.
That's awesome. So going back to music, so on tour now, again, seeing a big resurgence in, that your era of music, that time frame. So
God, that was totally unexpected. We had no idea. In the 90s and rolling into the 2000s, one day at country radio, they just didn't play our records anymore. I know we don't know why. It was a changing of the guard kind of thing. But normally in country music, us old guys just kind of mosey on out into the sunset, never come back, But it was kind of like whack. That was it, So we're all just kind of standing around. Oh, we just lost our jobs. And so, a lot of it hadn't been for casinos and the good old county fairs, we'd have starved to death.
Yeah.
And consequently, it's why I have great appreciation for the new guys in country music because of that changing of the guard and how abrupt it was. It left a void.
Yeah.
It left a void, and here we are 20 years down the road, and everybody goes, hey, what happened to those guys in the 90s? And all of a sudden, the phone starts ringing. And it's crazy. Me and Sammy Kershaw and Colin Ray out doing a Roots and Boots thing. We packed the house.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. We're going, we'll take it.
Yeah.
That's backing up to your check right there.
Right, for sure it is.
But anyway, it is a great resurgence. And now putting out new music, it is so cool to see people singing a new song of mine. It's so special. I'm so thankful just to have a chance to do it again. We've been writing hard for over a year, and so we got some great stuff.
That was the next question. So good.
We do. And matter of fact, we just did a soundtrack for a movie coming out. What's the name of it, honey? I can't even remember. Anyway, it's the old Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Nice.
And I'm doing a version of that for this movie. It's a cowboy type movie. And anyway, so a lot of cool, neat things are happening. It's just...
You would think, some of that music would tie back into, Yellowstone and some of those other programs, Sheridan.
The cowboy thing right now is really hot.
Yes.
And these guys making these movies are kind of into the music coming from the Nashville scene, and it's 8-track guys are really in touch with this.
Right.
And so I'm lucky to have the chance to do it. Heck, we're just bumping along here. Had a couple of cool collaborations that we're working on, taking some of my old hits, doing with some of these new guys.
That's going to be awesome.
And man, that is so much fun, getting a chance to sing with these kids, man.
I tried to pull it out of your wife earlier, and I wasn't getting anywhere. She will not tell me.
Top secret.
Day's not over. But so again, back to music. Who would you see as an inspiration in your career, or who are some of those?
Without a doubt, the very first was Hank Williams Sr. I was 13 years old. My best buddy got a portable 8-track tape player, and we didn't have anything to play in it. And his dad was a truck driver.
Okay.
And so he said, "Here, boys, play this," and it was Hank Williams Sr.'s greatest hits.
Yeah.
And we plugged it in. We were making fun of it, how corny it was, and blah, blah. And by the time I spent an hour listening to that music, I started understanding what Hank Williams had to say to me, and it was getting to me. And that spawned the songwriting in me, and just I fell in love with country music. Even at my little hillbilly high school, I was the redneck rolling through the parking lot with Conway and Loretta blowing wide open. So, I just fell in love with country music, and I've had the pleasure of meeting some of the greats. I played with Merle Haggard, George Jones, Waylon Jennings, one of my favorites, Buck Owens. Buck Owens was a great friend to the pups coming up. He was a great friend. I've had the pleasure and honor, there's a group of us pilot types that go out with the brothers who have Fifi, the B-29, and John, Agatha, and Neil. They put on a program every year. We go out and we quail hunt together, and a lot of cool people come out and hang out there. I've got to listen, when he was with us, I got to listen to Dick Cole tell the story of the Doolittle raid and dropping the first bombs on the Japanese. It's incredible, and I got to hear that every year from the guy that did it. You know, it was so cool.
Yeah, you know, and looking at where we are now with technology and the advanced technology and drones and, you know, the piloting thing is changed a lot.
It has.
You know, since
it
those
has.
days.
And I'm always thankful because I've spent so much time downrange, and I've had the sad situation of riding a C-130 with a flag draped casket all the way back off the battlefield, and sitting there for 2 hours knowing somebody's kids in that box,
Right.
somebody's husband, somebody's daughters. You know, it's just man, the more technology to save the life of an American warrior, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I'm all about our troops, and you know, whatever they need, call old AA Ron. I started my career on the Bob Hope Show, Christmas and
Did you really?
Yeah, I got to get on a C-141 with Bob Hope, little know-nothing hillbilly, and next thing I know, I'm in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
You know, and picking my guitar and singing, you got to stand for something for the troops.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, number one, thanks for doing that. You know, that's an incredible
That's my
thing.
absolute pleasure, and I've done it every chance I had. You know, out of that came another situation which got Aaron Tippin's music into space. One of the guys in the crowd when I was playing the Bob Hope Show was a young captain, Marine, and Rick Sturco. And Rick got out of the Marines after the war, and he went to work for NASA, and he became a mission commander on one of the space shuttles, and they were allowed 2 pieces of music in space. He took an Aaron Tippin album to space.
Nice.
And I got a picture. in the house, and the CD's floating in space in front of him, and he's in the space shuttle, and you can see the Earth through the windshield.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, man.
There's
I
some
couldn't
marketing.
have bought that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I got money to buy
that's
that.
impressive. Yeah.
I've been blessed. I call myself the luckiest hillbilly that ever lived.
Well, you're a good man. Enjoyed meeting you, talking with you.
Hey, it's been great,
And,
buddy.
you know, love your enthusiasm for both the music and the airplanes, both things that I really love. So
Well, same here, brother. I can tell just from being around you, we're cut from the same cloth.
yeah. Even though I'm a northerner, you know,
Yeah,
Michigan
you
guy.
Yankees.
Right. But no, I really do. I appreciate your time and taking the time for us. And
Hey, I'm glad to
doing
do
this.
it, brother. Hey, let's do it again.
For sure. So if for all of our audience out there, the tour schedule, they can find it at
Yeah, you go to AaronTippin.com, and it'll tell you what's going on and tell you where we're playing and tell you the latest hits out and what we got going. Me and Mama Boy post something every day out on the road. We love to do that. It's a lot of fun, and everybody enjoys it, seeing what we're up to. And so anyway, y'all check me out, AaronTippin.com.
Love it. Well, thank you again for your time.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for watching Own the Jet. If you want to see more Own the Jet, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and leave a comment telling us what aspect of jet ownership you'd like to know more about. Own the Jet is brought to you by Aspen Aero Group, your trusted partner in private and corporate jet ownership. Learn more at aspenaerogroup.com. This has been a Savage Media production.